Broadcast
Now
is live.
we're officially live. We're gonna switch to here. We're gonna click this.
Does this mean we're being recorded?
This means we are being recorded.
Your audio isn't live, is it?
Yes.
Like on podcast?
No, that goes on later.
It's just on Facebook and see
It
ourselves.
just streams live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch right now.
Okay, cool.
So now I go to Facebook and that's when I like and share it and all that kind of stuff.
Do that right from the beginning.
Perfecto.
It's in Spanish.
Well, they're in Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. That is what they speak in Mexico.
That is. Do you speak Spanish?
I do not. Hey, good morning, Jonathan. Glad you're here, man. Hey, congrats on the new job. So that's really cool.
All right, how are you seeing what people are saying?
So I don't know about you, but on the right side of my screen, it has the comments.
Okay. I'll let you keep up with all that stuff. I was going to try to...
Well, on the stream, actually on the StreamYard itself.
Oh, on the StreamYard.
You right see here. Him? See Jonathan, Germany.
Should I exit full screen to see it? Comments. See it. Okay, cool. I had it full screen video. That's why I didn't see the...
Sure.
The yo. Thanks.
So Jonathan Germany is a fellow youth minister, and he just accepted a new job. Although I can't remember off the top of my head where he just took he's now the youth minister somewhere else.
What if he hadn't announced it yet?
Well, that's where I know it from. I saw it on Facebook.
Okay, that's good. So it's safe to say it?
It is. We did have a couple episodes here where like I couldn't talk about. It was weird being in transition. Like we joked about Aaron's the youth minister in transition, but we can't say that yet.
Because it hadn't been announced yet?
Hadn't been announced yet.
Yeah.
9th Avenue, that's right, in Halesville, Alabama.
Haleyville?
Haleyville. Not Halesville. Haleyville. I don't know. I've never really been to Alabama or Arkansas.
Well, I bet you'll wind up going since you're closer now. Alabama, you can go to the beach.
I do. I want to go to Harding. I'd like to get some college visits, and do some college visits. I've only ever done a OC and a York college visit, but I'd love to take. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
So you never been to Harding University?
Never been to Harding University. Funny story. I actually had a full ride to Harding. And my girlfriend at the time, we broke up, and so I transferred last minute to go to OC. Went potluck on the roommate, and she did the same thing. So it's kind of funny.
Did you have a full ride to OC, or did you abandon?
I did not. I abandoned the full ride.
I guess it worked out in the long run.
It worked out in the long run.
Yeah. I did potluck at ACU, and my roommate became one of my best friends. We were roommates for 5 years, and then groomsmen in each other's weddings and all that stuff. He lives in California, but the potluck worked. They matched us up well.
Yeah, my potluck was never terrible. Hey, Jay Fowler, just letting you know I muted your mic. I didn't know if you were going to be able to hop back in or not.
He's dark.
He's dark.
Picture.
Yeah, we'll see.
What's Sam doing? Can we talk about personal stuff on here?
Talk about anything you want for the next 18 seconds.
All right. What's Sam doing?
He's playing with his mom.
All right.
Somewhere.
I think I can hear him a little bit.
Probably. He's pretty loud.
Hey, can you hear me okay? I mean, I'm just using the mic on the computer.
No, your audio sounds great.
All right, awesome. I do have one of these little lightning rod mics, but it goes, plugs right into your phone.
Oh, yeah. No, you're good.
Okay. Well, good deal.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Behind the Beards, where we pull the curtain back, take a look behind the scenes, and reveal the things you need to know about the people who are called to lead your churches and your ministries. I'm Aaron Partlow. I'm the youth minister in Longview, Texas. And my best buddy, the black screen up here in the top, the only man who I know looks good in a bedazzled shirt, Josh Fowler. He is the preaching minister in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He is currently in Mexico right now doing a service project, help building a church there for a church plant that they were a part of. And so he might be popping in and popping out. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. But my also extremely good friend and our guest today is Jody Gardner, and he is the preaching minister also in Longview, Texas. We now work together, and he has gracefully joined us today to talk about what we're going to talk about today. So how's it going, Jody?
It's going good. I'm glad to be a part of the Behind the Beards show. I liked your intro video.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be here. Look forward to talking, and hello to anybody that's watching now and may listen 3 years from now if they
3
pull
years
the
from
podcast. You never know.
That's true. Like, you never know, like, in 20 years, what if we're famous or something? Probably.
It could be, or on my podcast app, I can research anything I want to, and I can get back and find stuff from years ago.
That's true.
So that's why I'm saying hello to anybody that may listen on down the road.
So, did you buy your artwork in the back specifically for the show today?
I didn't. My wife bought it and surprised me, but I like his beard. I like her smile. I don't know how well my head may be blocking part of that, but
you do block the smile, but we get to see the beard, which is good. For
video in my house, this is like the only place I can go. So I'm stuck right here in this little spot.
It's a good place. It's amazing what a green screen can do for you, because your house can be a disaster and a mess, but you put the green screen up and nobody ever knows. So
well, they know you're not really in that spot.
That's right. Yeah, I'm really not. I'm not out here in the crazy wildness. I actually have a different green screen almost like every episode. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of fun.
You like mixing it up?
Mixing it up. Well, today we're going to talk about something kind of special. And I'm also running production today, so I apologize to everyone who's used to Josh's seamlessly amazing job that he does. But we're going to talk about where you're going for the holidays. We've talked about this before on the show, and I think it was just Josh and I talking about this. But we just kind of want to dive into this kind of over and over, especially when we have a holiday like Easter. We just had Easter Sunday. And it's prominent in our minds, and we're thinking about it. And like I said at the opening of the show, we just kind of want to reveal some things and talk to you, our audience, and everybody about what it kind of looks like behind the scenes of the show. And so we want to kind of talk about that today. Oh, it looks like maybe we got Josh back here. Josh, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can.
Just a little bit of a delay, but that's okay.
Maybe it'll catch up as we go along.
Maybe it will. No, it sounds like you're pretty on topic now. Josh, why don't you tell us? Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing today, or what you're doing down in Mexico?
Yeah, absolutely. We are in Matamoros, Mexico, which is right across the border from Brownsville, Texas. Our Spanish ministry started a little church here about a year ago with some friends and family that were here in this area but didn't have a church home. And we bought a little house for them to meet in, and what we found was we planted a church in an area that was really ready for something like this, because they went from about 7 to 35 to 40 in the span of just a few months.
Wow.
And they've outgrown everything they have. So we're here trying to help them expand their footprint just a little bit, to give them the space to invite folks from the community in to meet them and spend some time with them and kind of get to know them as well. So good people, man. Good people.
He's gone.
There he goes. I think he hit a button or something. Wow, that is powerful. That's really cool to know. He will be popping back in. So, like, there he is right there.
Is he back?
Yes.
Welcome back.
No, there's on mobile, there's a little arrow up here, and it's right where my thumb rests. So I got to keep my thumb out of the way. Anyway, we're just excited to be here and kind of be face to face with them. My kids are on spring break this week. In Louisiana, we have kind of a late spring break, so we're just spending a few days getting to know them, seeing the work they're doing, meeting the people here in the community, and it's really good, man. It's so exciting to see the way the Lord works through people who are faithful enough to just step out and go to work, and that's what it's all about, doing work.
Well, speaking of interesting ways the Lord works, we just had a holiday Sunday. We just had Easter Sunday. And I don't know about you guys, but like Easter Sundays for churches is usually a time where we in my experience, the churches that I've worked at, there's been a denser population of people. So usually sometimes you have visitors. You have some people who maybe haven't been to church for like a year or haven't been to church since Christmas. So maybe they're coming for that Sunday, and we're not here to talk about those kind of decisions and that kind of stuff, but we're talking about is that idea of using that opportunity in an excellent way to be able to reach those people, maybe reignite that flame, kind of like what Josh said, to get people excited and and to expand God's kingdom. So let me ask you guys, what do you guys think? Let's talk about this a little bit. What makes a successful holiday Sunday for you guys? Like, I know there's a lot of them out there, like Christmas and Easter and some other Sundays that are around the holiday and stuff. But what really makes, in your opinion, okay, this is a very opinionated question because it could go anywhere for anybody, right? What makes a successful holiday Sunday? What makes you go home after church on that Sunday and go, man, this was a good Easter Sunday?
Man, if I'm preaching, I rarely go home and have that feeling. But I would also throw Mother's Day into that.
That's true, yeah.
From the research I've done at Pine Tree and, Tom Rainer and other research groups, Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day are going to be kind of the top three generally for most churches. And I think it's true for our church at Pine Tree. We actually can throw in like the second or third week in August, when everybody's back to school.
Oh, wow.
The attendance on that day over the last 5-6 years competes with Easter. That's not a holiday, but
it is for Pine Tree, apparently.
Yeah, when I prepare my sermons, I don't treat it like it's Easter, but I'm anticipating bigger crowds, more people, opportunity to kind of hook them again and get them back connected. For whatever reason, school's starting, so they're like, we'll go back to church this Sunday. But that doesn't answer your question. So what makes it feel successful?
No, there was a time, and I say early on in my career as a minister as if it's like some long drawn out career that I've had, but the first several years, it was for me about numbers and visitors. And that was always really discouraging because I've been in places where apparently everyone travels away from, but not very many people travel to. So some people say, we got a whole bunch of people, we have a holiday weekend, our numbers are higher. But I have never been in a place where our numbers have really swollen from that. And so it can be really kind of discouraging. And so for me, over the last probably 3 or 4 years, it's really just been all about an atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this in a way that's going to sound really self-aggrandizing. It's really not intended to be. But I created a space where through the worship that we've put on in this moment, where our people have felt compelled to be, whether it's, more open, more friendly, maybe instead of, locking the doors on a holiday Sunday 15 minutes after service is over because everybody hit their cars and ran to lunch,
Right.
it's an hour and 15 minutes after service and I'm still there waiting for the last people to leave. And so you can feel a little bit of a change in the atmosphere. And I'm going to say particularly around Easter, because, a lot of people have new clothes, the kids are really excited. Yeah, because, the Easter bunnies come and they've gotten to eat some candy and for breakfast and hunt Easter eggs. And everyone has just a different kind of a spirit. It doesn't have the same kind of a catch-22 sometimes, even like Mother's Day does. Mother's Day is not good for everyone. There are some women who want to be mothers but can't be, or who've lost children, or who didn't have a good relationship with their mother. And so you kind of feel like you're navigating not a minefield, but with some really, really tentative and raw feelings for people. Easter is one of those times where, joy can come so naturally, even with all those other things around. So for me, it's just about that. Is the environment, one of receptiveness, of welcomeness, where people just kind of don't want to leave.
Interesting.
And that's kind of what I've been looking at of late and trying to move my mindset towards this. It's just the environment that we create in those moments.
That's a great point. I would say the same for us too. Atmosphere, environment, everybody knows to anticipate it. That's an interesting point about how some churches, you may be at a church where people travel away to go see parents.
Yeah.
We kind of have a mix. I heard from a lot of people this past Sunday that were traveling to go see their parents. So I kind of came into it expecting, I don't know, maybe we'll have a below average Easter crowd, but we had a pretty good one.
We did.
I left
Surprised
the building,
me.
came back 10 minutes later, and I was like, whoa, where did everybody come from? Biggest crowd we've had in over a year.
That's true. Coming right off of COVID, it was kind of, we're still in COVID, but it was a surprise to see that many physical bodies.
True. Yeah.
In a church building.
And there's something you can get hyped up about that. It naturally gives you some energy when there's a crowd like that. But I also know, okay, I'm seeing people that they're just here for the weekend because they're seeing their parents. That's great. Hopefully the message will be something that that will bless them and help them in their own faith journey.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've kind of paid more attention to the last couple years, but last year was different because we were online only. I did a preaching training a few years ago, and the guy that worked with me said to use Easter as an opportunity to promote what's coming up. So if anybody does to show up, so if they're like, you know what, I'll go to church on Easter, I'll check out this church. If you do a good job of promoting your next sermon series or some things you have coming up as a church, that might be a hook for them to say, I may come back next week. Mm-hmm. So he suggested doing more of a felt needs sermon series following Easter. So if they hear you promote it, they may say, I need. And so I didn't do a good job of that this year, but it's something I'm going to work towards as the years go on, is really using Easter as a way to stay connected with any visitors. We like to call them guests. So I would consider that successful if you have people that are seekers, whatever you want to call them, and they show up, and then you can hook them somehow through conversation, through the atmosphere, through something in the service, and then they may say, I'm going to come back next week, and they really do.
That's a really good point. We were thinking about that. I was thinking about that Monday. I was thinking, man, we just had a huge crowd of people, and we just started like a youth group Instagram and some other stuff like that, some social media where we want that information out. And I didn't have it in the bulletin that week. It was like the 1 week, we've been here for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. And that was the one Sunday I didn't have it, in the bottom corner of it. And it's like, man, like think of how many people saw that or read that. Luckily I had summer dates in there and some other activities that, like you said, like we have coming up to kind of promote what we're doing. But like getting people to be able to connect and check in and things like that. I think for me, like a successful holiday Sunday is for me, it's something that brings some acknowledgement to the holiday. I've been a part of some churches. I grew up. Now I don't know if my dad's here today or not to correct me on this, but we used to, I don't know. I don't ever remember having a nativity scene in our house growing up. But all of a sudden now, when I come home, that's the first thing that gets set up now is the nativity scene. And I'm like, what is this? That's crazy. And so I've been a part of churches, who it's Christmas is literally the next day. And, they're not doing a birth of Christ kind of sermon, kind of a thing because, Jesus wasn't born in December, and so how do we and we know that, we know that, right? No, I rarely think any person who truly knows God's word goes, oh, well, he not my idea, son. Okay. So dad, correct me. It wasn't his idea that we didn't have a nativity scene. How do we capitalize on, and is it wrong to capitalize on that holiday feel? Is it, even though it's, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Cause same thing for me growing up is, and you and I talked about this in the hallway yesterday, but Church of Christ traditionally, Restoration Movement, we've tried to do the opposite of what other denominations may be doing. So if other non-Churches of Christ in town were celebrating, making a big deal of Easter or Christmas, we would do the opposite and not say anything about it.
Right.
So I feel like that old school mentality is kind of calming down and it's being embraced more within the Churches of Christ. And something I heard Rick Ashley say one time that I thought was helpful for preachers is if you do have those people that are seeking and that just happen to show up on either Christmas or Easter, or maybe they're doing it to make their mom happy and they haven't been in years, they're probably expecting to hear at Christmas something about the incarnation or birth of Christ, Easter, something about resurrection. And if you don't speak into that, they may walk away thinking, well, I didn't even hear what I came to hear. So I guess that's a positive way of looking at it, is if you speak into it and people come looking for it, that, again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, could be a hook to, capture them a little bit. Maybe that'll get them to come back, or maybe it plants a seed that could change them on down the road. But at the same time, we are limited with the text that we can preach from.
That's true.
I mean, Matthew and Luke, chapters 1 and 2, John 1, and then you can find some other stuff for Christmas, but and you can get creative with it. But that's about it. And then Easter, it's like the end of all four Gospels, and you can get creative with how you want to do it too. But
it's amazing how they all end the same.
They all, some different details. You can do different themes with it within the theme. But anyways, I think it's important to speak into it.
Yeah. My Easter sermon this past Sunday was from 2 Corinthians 5. It was about the resurrection of Jesus, but it was about how we are changed because of the resurrection. And so, the story of the resurrection definitely played a role in that, but it wasn't necessarily the focus, because the last several years we have kind of focused on that. And so we kind of bring that in, and like you said, find creative ways of telling the story, but because of the story, then what? I have known at least people who kind of jokingly said, in our churches, we like to preach the resurrection on Christmas and the birth on Easter. as kind of a way of rebutting, the norm.
Rebelling almost, yeah.
Yeah, right. But I think we really have an obligation, for me, and if everyone in our circles are going to stop on Christmas and look at a baby in a manger, I think we have an obligation to tell them about that baby.
Right. Yeah.
Whether or not it's accurate, I don't care where the holiday came from or stemmed from. The fact is, whether they know it or not, the world is looking at a nativity scene, and if we are the people who are Christian who are going to say, well, not us, we're not going to do that this time, we're doing something else. What does that say about who we are as Christ followers? So I just see it as just an opportunity to connect and let the people know that we are here with you. We may have a different understanding or a perspective on life or even a different motivation, but we are here, and we know what's going on in the community. We know what's going on in your life. We're living this life with you, and this is how we are doing our best to live it better. Not better than you, but just better for ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
That makes us who we are. And I think when you are able to really draw a direct line between what is happening today, to a series of books that were written 2,000 years ago that people seem to believe is so out of touch with reality, when you show how Scripture can affect tomorrow,
right,
your life in a positive way, I just think we have an obligation to do that if there's even one person that is there who might not be there on another time. And I bear that responsibility with a great deal of almost anxiety, because I understand that, like Jody said, this may be the one time that this person gets to hear the word of God spoken for another 365 days. So I think it's really important, and I think it's a beautiful opportunity for us to show what God's word can do and how it can affect our lives.
I think it's that cool idea of, and actually I'm going to totally shift what I was about to say, because I was like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I like holidays. For me, are really interesting times at churches, because I feel like you get to do things that you don't normally get to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I wish every Sunday we could have an Easter egg hunt. Now I'm focused. I'm thinking of like Christmas, and I'm thinking of like those cool moments where you get to do like a Christmas Eve vigil, where you come together and you sing songs and you worship God into the new year, even or on to Christmas Day, or you do a New Year's party at a church, and it's 10 till, and so you got the guy walking through and says, "Hey, get to the auditorium," and we get to sing worship songs that's how the guy sounded to me growing up. Stop playing ping pong. We're gonna sing some songs, and then we sing some devotional or worship songs into the new year. And it's those powerful moments where it for me the holidays here, and it's really great. But because I'm part of a church family, I'm getting to do like these very religious kind of things, these traditions that we get to do. I love praying at 11:50 on New Year's Eve to New Year's, and so you're praying into the new year, entering the new year in the within the throne of God, kind of stuff like that. And so holidays kind of open that up for me. I love Mother's Day and Father's Day because we get to take that special time to honor special people in our congregation, mothers and fathers. And I agree, Josh, it's not always a happy feeling for everybody else, for everybody in the audience. But we still get to honor people like that. A tradition that Central, when I was a part of the Central Church in Kansas, that we would do every year was we would celebrate marriages, and it was in February around Valentine's Day. And so we would have, this was the coolest thing ever. We'd have everyone stand up, and if they were married, we would start going through the numbers, and it was almost like this competition to see who has been married the longest. And then you get to these couples who have been married for 60 years. And I'm like, that's forever. Like, you were 20 when you got married, you're 80 now, and you've been married for 60 years. Like, that's incredible. You know, Lauren and I will be married 10 years in August. And I'm like, 60? That's a whole lifetime, you know, and that's powerful. And that's amazing and encouraging to me as a young Christian. And I wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have a holiday that we were using as a focal point.
It's good to have those reminders on our calendar throughout the year. I mean, if you think about the Old Testament, the Jewish faith, and the yearly festivals they had, and
where's my year of Jubilee?
Year of Jubilee. We need to bring that back.
Free my debts up.
But yeah, I mean, those yearly markers on the calendar are really helpful reminders, and I look forward to them too. I definitely don't resist them. And as a preacher, I kind of grew up in a tradition where we didn't really talk about the birth or resurrection on Easter because we're gonna be different. You know, as an adult, I've come to embrace that, and I like it. And so I'm with you on that. I enjoy those times on the calendar that you can look forward to, and you get to. It feels a little different. The events are a little different. People are kind of excited. Yeah.
Kind of gets me in the holiday spirit, to be honest, a little bit. Like I love youth group in the Christmas time. To be honest, I look forward to it. Matter of fact, there's probably no kids from the youth group who will watch this, but we're going to actually have a Christmas party in July. So we're excited about that. Ugly sweaters, maybe ugly cutoff shirt sweaters. Well, we'll be inside. There's AC. Get a Christmas tree and all sorts of stuff. Always wanted to have a Christmas in July party.
You're going to have a Santa?
We're going to do it. Yeah. I was actually going to talk to you about that.
I don't want my kids to know, to find out it's me. So I can't.
Well, we'll find somebody.
They can smell my breath and recognize my voice.
My kids can recognize me by my breath.
Coffee.
You know, there's some things we were talking about kind of before, when like things you don't think about. I laugh. You know, John Christ has, you know, these videos, and one of them is like the Saturday before Easter or the morning of Easter, and it shows like the worship director. And you know, there's always these funny little things like, no, the pastor can't give the announcements. Did you see what that guy was wearing last time he got up?
I really relate to those comments.
You don't want that guy being the face of our church and the community.
Right.
You know, and that's the stereotype, right? That you're going through there, and like the music has to be on point. You have to have your best worship leader. You have to have your best songs. You want to kind of this perspective, putting your best foot forward. And the reason it's so funny is because there's a hint of it that's true. And sometimes maybe even more than a hint of it that's true. And that's problematic, especially when you think about why we're there. That it's easy for that to become about me and about my preparation and about my desire and about what I want to do in and for the church in this time, as opposed to just like we said before, setting up this space for people to come and worship, and then letting the Spirit of God work on people as they are prepared. And so, you know, battling that pressure, both externally and internally, of the expectation of a holiday season. Because, you know, some people do say, hey, I have my parents here. They're here for the first time. It's Easter. And at least the implication, whether they intend for it to be or not, the implication that we sometimes feel is, you better not get someone out of the park or they're never coming back.
Right, yeah.
There is that pressure, the added pressure.
And so, you know, that's just one of the things kind of behind the scenes. And there's a couple more, but I'll let you guys kind of put your own thoughts in there with those, or some of the things that people may not understand about what goes on in our minds.
Well, it is interesting. It is so easy. It'd be so easy to get lost in the holiday and to forget. I always get worried about, sometimes we'll make jokes about like hidden angels or something like that, or that idea of somebody getting lost in the service because you're so focused on programs starting on time or, all that kind of stuff.
The direction of it.
Yeah, that we forget. We're so trying to take advantage of the opportunity that we don't take advantage of an opportunity, right?
Because we're so tightly wound trying to put on a good worship.
Yeah.
Let's say performance, but I don't want to even use that word. But
right? Because you're afraid to. Where I'm afraid to use that word.
Yeah.
Because we want to be anchored to allowing God to kind of use us and to do that. Yeah, and that's a really good point. That's something that my next question that I kind of thought about is like, what are some of the things that people don't think about the holidays that as a minister you have to? And for me, I don't know what that sound is behind me. For me, that's one of those things that you have to really think about is remembering to be anchored. And my wife does an amazing job at this because I will be so focused on, hey, I've got to get to Bible class. I got to do this. I got to do this. That sometimes she's like, hey, you just need to slow down and breathe and remember that like 90% of your job is relationship, and building those relationships and communicating and talking to people. And so if I have to stop and because a teenager's wanting to tell me about something that's really important to them, I'm going to stop and I'm going to talk to them a little bit. I'm not going to be disrespectful to everybody else who's waiting. But at the same time, like I need to slow down and remember that.
Then you're going to relax a little bit and remember to minister and not get caught up.
That's right.
And all that. Yeah. I would say back to the pressure part of it, like what ministers have to deal with. I feel like holiday times, especially Christmas and Easter, or even Mother's Day, whatever else we want to consider, when people get to travel or have the freedom to travel to go see family, or maybe they have family coming into town, because we've had that too. We actually had family come visit this past Sunday. Because it's not like a, hey, just get the house ready and enjoy it. It's like is that pots and pans?
It's a cat stuck in a box.
Okay. I thought somebody was just banging pots and pans around.
I thought it was Sam, but it's legitimately my cat in a box running around.
Well, but yeah, so Saturday night, like we had family coming into town Sunday, and I spent 4 hours going over my sermon. I changed a bunch of stuff. It was too late to print, so I took like one page out and I hand wrote my new part of it. And so there's kind of that pressure of like there will be a lot of people here, so I can't. Like I got to be like on top of things with the sermon. So I do feel that extra bit of anxiety preparing the sermon and building up to it. Like Sunday morning, I told the story about meeting Jim Morris and that not going so well. I knew that I was going to tell that story because it's funny on Easter for like 8 months. Like I had it stored away in my notes, and I was like, I'm going to save that one for Easter. So there is a lot of thought that go, and at least for me, it's like I'm kind of thinking about it far in advance. And if there is a really good story or illustration, like I may save that for one of our bigger Sundays.
Yeah.
So the extra pressure can be good or bad, I think.
The other thing I really wrestle with is, I have an obligation to my family as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And, it's easy to say, well, my job is really important. What I do is really important. And so I know it's Easter, and I know you guys are going to be home and you're going to be celebrating and do this when you wake up, but Dad's got to go to the church. And particularly when your kids are younger, you don't necessarily realize the implication that gives to your kids. Mm-hmm. Church took my dad away. I never got to do this with Dad. And like on Sunday mornings, I get to the church early. Part of my routine is, I leave my house about 5:45 or 6 o'clock. I get to the church.
I always say that when he says that.
Around 6:15 or 6:30, because for me to be in the right mind, I have to have that time to really to prepare myself. And I pray over, the auditorium, which my elders think I'm crazy for. They're like, why are you praying over a room? It's like, well, I'm praying over a room that's going to be filled with people. And I pray for the people that will come through here. And I pray over our children's classroom. Not because it's special or anything, but because it puts me in the right frame of mind. Because I do so many other things throughout the week. My Saturdays are usually full with basketball or baseball or football and officiating and kids' activities. And so Sunday morning, it's just my way of centering myself. And then Easter comes along and my human mind says, you really have to do that this day because it's really special. And so it wants to take me away from my family. But what does it tell my family if I abandon them in this special moment and don't share this moment with them for the sake of what I'm going to do otherwise? And so it's been freeing for me to allow myself to say, you know what, I'm not going to go in early. I'm going to spend this morning with my family, which means I might have to do more on Saturday night than I usually would. And I might be a little more absent in this moment. But on Sunday morning, when we wake up, we're going to wake up together. We're going to eat together. We're going to share this time together. It's not going to be my kids and my wife because Daddy had to go do this. And that's just because both of those obligations have great importance, right? And so it's a really, really hard balance to carry. As I think as ministers, especially because of the responsibility you have to the church as well. Yeah. And I think that's maybe something that I did not appreciate fully until I was kind of brought into this work. So.
Yeah. And thanks for sharing that. That's a good reminder for me also. I think about, because I'm not an early morning person, but I am a Saturday night. Like that's my big review. I'll do one more final review Sunday morning and prayer time. But I always say to people, like, my family they don't ever get to do anything cool on Saturday nights because I got to be home and I got to review. So I've been trying to be more, to adapt a little bit, to be a little more flexible. And like, if I need to do some reviewing Saturday morning so we can go do something fun Saturday evening, I don't know. It does affect your family, and I'm trying to adjust. And I'm glad to hear you say what you just said about making your family priority and adjusting our schedule so that it's not just the kids and their mom and I'm gone because I'm getting all ready for Easter. But there is that pressure that we do have to be ready, and so we don't get to just kick back and enjoy like a lot of people might. And that's okay. It comes with the territory.
And I just had to be okay with just telling myself, hey, you know what? I have prepared. I've done my work throughout the week. And even if I don't necessarily feel as prepared as I normally am, the Spirit of God is still going to show up as long as I'm open and available. And it allows me to just allow His power to work in a way where I'm not as confident in my own preparation.
Yeah.
And that's it's a hard thing to get okay with.
Yeah.
It's hard when we have to get over ourselves and allow God to kind of work through us. Let me be the jerk who says it that way, right?
It's true.
That's what I'm good at. It's amazing. It's always hard. Ministry is always so difficult when you have to balance your responsibilities and things that are important to other people and to yourself, and balance like having a healthy, good relationship with your family and being a father. That it's difficult and it's hard to do that. That's part of the stuff that we like to talk about on the show is, and we're not complaining about it because everybody in this podcast right now chose to go into ministry. Mm-hmm. There was no wool over our eyes. Like, we knew that holidays, we were going to be working most holidays. We knew that Fridays and Saturdays we were going to be busy, with personal stuff, but also probably with some ministry stuff, I always chuckle. I always chuckle when we talk about days off and things like that. And people are like, "Oh, but don't you have Friday and Saturday off?" And then you always laugh and you're like, "Yeah, but when are most youth events?" "Oh, well, Fridays and Saturdays."
Yeah.
You know, and then like, "Oh, well, you just take Monday off." And I was like, "Well, why would I take Monday off? Like, I'm going to meet with my other staff members, and 2, we need to talk about what everybody talked about on Sunday, because we're all talking to different people. So it's a good catch-up day."
Mm-hmm.
And by the time Tuesday comes around, it's like, well, I'm already like doing stuff, then Wednesday night church. And then, so it's like, it'll happen when it kind of happens. It's easy to get burnt out. It's easy to, and holidays can do that to us. You have a big holiday coming up, so you want to get everything prepped and ready. But then we can't sacrifice, that time that we have with our family as well. And especially creating those healthy and good family traditions that we get to have, because as much as it's my job to minister to, the teens of the Pine Tree Church, God specifically calls me to be a father and to be a Christian and to minister to my son. And Jesus specifically calls me, to minister to my wife and to serve her. And so, so it's like I have my calling to ministry, but there's also like a direct call, to serve my wife and to serve my family and to be that. And so, I mean, to balance that and to really do that faithfully, do them both faithfully, is pretty powerful.
So
and
everything is enmeshed. I mean, their social life, their friends are mixed in with where you go to work.
Yeah.
So it's a tender thing to try to balance and not get too caught up in the whirlwind and let it affect your home life. But I'm glad that it looks like we were kind of ending on that. I think that's good family.
Well,
it's good for me to hear both of y'all talk about that.
We are, but I'm about ready to pull the carpet from underneath your feet, Jody, because we have a thing on the show called the Behind the Beards moment. And it is where somebody, and we talk about what's the behind the beard moment. So you think about our topic, which is holidays and churches and serving as a minister on a holiday. What is something that a non-minister, elder, deacon, that they would never have thought about, that they need to know about ministers and holidays? Maybe we've said it or maybe we haven't, but what is something that we can reveal to them? What do you kind of think?
Well, I feel like we've said a lot of it, but
we have.
I mentioned this earlier, but when people have Christmas, Christmas is a bigger traveling holiday probably than Easter.
Sure.
They have the freedom to go whenever they want, or if they decide to go see their parents or their siblings, they can do it. I mean, and I'm not saying this is a complaint, but there's no option. I'm not going to take off Easter or Christmas. Those are big days. I'm most definitely preaching on those days. So if Christmas Day falls on a Sunday, like it's going to be hard to be fully present with my kids on Christmas Eve, because I'll be thinking about preaching the next morning. So it's not that we're not free, but it's hard to take vacation time on big holidays like that because you need to be here. So I don't know. Maybe that's good. A good reminder if you're an elder, deacon, or somebody else. Like
I think that's a
feel for us. We don't have the freedom to just hop up and go and be off.
I think that was like probably the best behind the beards moment we've had in a while. That's pretty good. Josh, you look like you're chewing on something.
No, I was just going to say, if you're in a church and you're there, I'd say give your ministers and ministry leaders the freedom to do that, to just be aware of that difficult balance that we've been talking about, and make sure that you provide an opportunity for them to say, hey, how is your Easter with your family? How was your holiday with your family? What are you doing with your family this day? And if the answer comes back like, well, man, I've got this and this and this with the church, then if you're a church member with someone in a position of leadership that has that mentality, be the one that goes to them and says, hey, that's going to be okay. Make sure you spend time with your family because you deserve that. and you have responsibility to them as well, because sometimes we need to be reminded of how heavy that responsibility is to our own families. Because the truth is, if our families aren't functioning, or if our families feel abandoned, we are not going to be in a position to serve that church for very long. And we're rarely going to be in a position to serve it effectively. So
that's true.
And sometimes we need those people to come and say, hey, don't forget, this is important also. And it's important for us that your family continues to be engaged here in the church. So we need that encouragement.
Amen.
You got anything else, Aaron?
That's it.
Well, guys, we close off this way every week. We are so glad you're here. We're glad you've chosen to join us and be with us, whether that is here live or after the fact. And as always, we want to remind you of Galatians chapter 6:9. Do not grow weary in doing good. It is so easy to just get tired of doing good in a world that seems to refuse to do good in return. But don't grow weary in doing good. Go out today, do something good in the name of Christ, and find those opportunities to show his love and his grace and his mercy. I'm Josh. This is Aaron and Jody. Until next week, we sign off.
Bye-bye.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beer.